So, today's episode is the last one of season 3. We really hope that you have enjoyed this season of the Career Coven. It has been recorded across 2025, which was the year of Beck's mat leave and Annie's weddings and a lot of other things around our sweet little pod. So, we really hope that you have enjoyed the content and we thank you for listening as far as the final episode of season 3. We will be back on the flip side with season 4 in a few months. But yeah, we hope you enjoy this final episode and thanks for being great listeners.
Hello and welcome to the Career Coven, the podcast for serious careers with unserious chat. I'm Beck, a coach, corporate citizen and recovering perfectionist.
And I'm Annie, a workaholic learning boundaries. Each episode, we unpack career challenges and workplace wisdom through honest conversations, practical tools, and a healthy dose of real talk so you can thrive on your own terms. Let's get into it today. How the hell are you?
I am doing great. I went to my Culty spin class and it was extremely hard, this one. And I was like, maybe I don't love the cult anymore. So, but do you know what? It wasn't a Soul Cycle one, so they can still sponsor us.
Okay, great. Good news.
How are you? What's happening in your world?
No, I'm good. We're getting close to my wedding. So there's an ever-mounting list of tasks. I'm a couple of weeks away from the old dress fitting moment, which I think is a biggie. But I still seem to be eating like a normal amount. So at least I haven't kind of lost my head over my dress fitting. I can confirm I think I'm being incredibly practical and normal about it all. So that's really it for me. I don't have much of interest in terms of updates today. So sorry about that, but I think we should just get into today's content, which is the first 30 days in a new job.
Woo! I mean, I had literally just off mic said, Annie, you've just started a job. And actually, it's not actually a new job anymore. But you have more recently started a job. So we're going to be leaning on you today.
Absolutely fine. And I've started a lot of jobs. I mean, I've had a lot of different jobs. So, I feel quite comfortable being lent on for this one.
I mean, I feel like having a strong start is a pretty powerful entry into a new organization, a new role. You could also restart. Could you restart your role? Could you have a second first 30 days?
Well, I'm literally considering this right now. Let's just say that is top of the mind, whether I can just wipe the slate clean and restart my role literally tomorrow. So maybe this will inspire me, this conversation. I think probably in a way you can reset at different points. And definitely if you get a promotion or something, I think you can consider that as a new first 30 days, which might be quite a useful way to kind of level up and or change the way you think and do things with a promotion. But that's not what's happening with me, to be clear. No promotions.
I mean, I'm going to have a first 30 days going back from mat leave. So
you definitely are. You definitely are.
You're going to inspire me today. And, I do think it makes such a big difference. I've watched someone, shout out to Kim, if she's listening, who I covered for mat leave. And her first 30 days when she returned from mat leave was amazing. Loved it. So a strong return as well as a strong start.
Great point. It's a really great point.
I think there are lots of professionals in the world who say this is really important, McKinsey and so on. Their advice is sort of fairly similar around showing kind of personal effectiveness, promoting early wins, and listening and building kind of stakeholder relationships.
Yeah.
Is that where you're coming from on this?
Yeah. So I really felt like when I was reading your kind of prep notes for this and doing my own research, I really felt that I have continually been given fairly good advice on how to start in new jobs. And I have never, ever taken it. So I do think it's really important to know who's who and get to know people, build some, frankly, social capital, as well as just understand what is actually happening around you. I'm someone that I would say I am always in a rush to get going. So I think my own self-reflection on all of my first 30 days would be chill out, get to know people. But yeah, I think there is certainly a clear topic in everything you read on this, which is like a version of stakeholder mapping, right? Like you will probably in your first week have a meeting with your line manager, and they will give you a list of names, and they'll say, meet these people. And sometimes they'll tell you why you have to meet these people. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just be like, here's the list. Just find them on Slack or find them on Teams and just meet them. Obviously, a little more guidance can be kind from a line manager, but also maybe it's also kind of interesting to find out why someone has told you to meet them. So yeah, you've got to get that list of names. And if you don't get given it, definitely ask for it on your first date from the person who hired you, because whoever they say is likely to be some of the stakeholders that you have to map. And then I think another good tip that I didn't generally follow, but is like, who else should I meet? So asking everyone that you do meet, who else should I meet and why? And then you get a sense of like, oh, so this person owns this, but they think that these people are really great. And then you're getting like 2 layers of, you might meet the person who's accountable, but then you might also want to meet the people responsible for delivering all the work. So I think a version of meeting all the key direct people you have to interact with is kind of table stakes and completely normal. But then I think that you have to find like the unsaid people and try and meet them as well and understand why they're important and kind of map them into your stakeholder org thing that you're creating. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. I think it's a good time to just sort of also just get a bit of a feel for the goss. It's a good time because no one, like, you're on no one's side. You're fresh meat. People will be like, I can work with this person to my advantage, and like, I think just be live to that's probably happening, and they will want to get things out of you, and they will want to kind of get you onto whatever their objective is, which they may or may not reveal to you. So like, I sort of look at it as a bit of a sort of sizing each other up, but it's a great time to sort of suss out what's going on a bit. The other thing that I would say is, I mean, this probably really varies depending on the size of organization, because in a big org, like, you'll basically just be doing like 3 to 4 weeks of stakeholder meetings and start doing some work in there. But in a smaller organization, there's probably just actually fewer people to meet, which, is kind of helpful. But I think the other thing that I would do in my first week is basically just like acclimatizing. Just want to like sponge up some important stuff. So like, get whatever strategy decks you can get a hold of.
Yeah.
I would look at like any finance kind of statements or submissions. Look at an elusive org chart. Like, org charts are
God. I've never found one of those, the org chart. I've always been looking for the org chart, and I've never found one that makes remotely any sense.
I don't know why just like organizations can't solve this problem of having an actual org chart, but like, if you can find one, great. They're normally out of date, or like someone's been fired, or someone's retired, or like someone's been promoted and there's a vacancy, or like whatever. So that's like maybe unrealistic to say get an org chart, but like, this is also the kind of thing that you wish could be just straightforward. Maybe that's a whole business idea. How do we just get places to have org charts? And the other things that I would do would be to just like work out where to eat lunch and get a good coffee and just, settle in.
You've got to find your places.
You're
in
your domain. You don't want to get stuck with like a shit coffee for the rest of your working life just because you couldn't be bothered. That's also a good thing to ask people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would do is just like be really clear with your line manager and like just understanding their expectations of the role, because that also might have changed since you last spoke to them. Like, you might have last spoken to them more or less after the interview, and that could have been 3 to 6 months ago. So like, the world will have moved. So I would just get a good lay of the land of what's going on, and like meet your team properly, and just sort of do that boring admin of like setting up one-to-ones and that kind of stuff.
Agree. Agree. There's a lot of that. And yeah, and I think if you don't get given set goals a goal for your first month or a set of goals, like you should kind of you should come up with them yourself and agree them with your line manager. So some managers will just give you what they expect you to do. I think the more senior you get, the less likely that is going to be given to you. But you certainly need to, I think, at the end of 30 days, be able to show some kind of progress, even if it is just on like, these are the areas I want to focus in on because I think there's a problem here, more opportunity there, XYZ. So you definitely need an output. And I would encourage you to agree that with whoever your manager is.
Totally agree. One last one, minor point, but I think it's worth sending an email intro out if your line manager doesn't do that for you. I think people always really remember these, especially if you put something interesting in, but like, don't be weird about it. When I started at Disney, there was like, honestly, it was the thing I was most stressed about. They were like, what's your favorite Disney character? We're putting it in your intro email. And I was like, well, obviously I just want to say Cruella, but that might paint me in a weird light. So I fully chickened out and said Baloo just to...
Ooh, very different.
Yeah, I know, but like I was like, I can't be projecting Cruella. Like that's not how you win friends and influence people at Disney. That's like how you get put on the naughty list. But yeah, I think something interesting. I mean, I also worked in a place when someone who started in their first week put on Slack, like, I do a weekly quiz every Friday, and then they just did it in the team channel, and I was like, you're such a loser. And then I really enjoyed it and I regretted thinking that. So if you're listening, I don't think you're a loser. I take it back.
You liked it. You liked the quiz.
I didn't like it, but everyone really got around it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I was being too judgmental. But then I obviously participated in the quiz because I'm very competitive. So I'd say just, you could go a bit softer, maybe. If you're gonna have a thing, maybe just warm into it. I wouldn't say that's a week one activity.
Yeah. Okay, so should we get into... Right, so to summarize our tips so far, it's like, get the list of people that you should meet from your manager. Meet all those people, but also ask them who else you should meet, why, and start a little stakeholder map document and make little notes for yourself so you don't forget. I think that's really important in these first meetings. At least do summary notes after the meeting so that you don't forget what was said with each person. Otherwise, there's no real point. Like if you're not really mapping it out, there's no real point in spending time meeting them, if you see what I mean. It's not all just like coffee and hey, like these are useful things. So you should make notes. And then you also want to make sure that your line manager, you have a clear goal and that you set up all your meetings with your line manager and your team. So I think we've stayed very practical. Very, very practical.
I've got like, I don't want to say it's impractical, but a challenge to you on this, Annie. So you're setting up your stakeholder meetings, you're getting a lay of the land. What advice would you have about building kind of trust with these new people? What do you do? What's your vibe going into?
Oh, interesting. Well, so what everyone does to classically build trust is they say, and how can I help you in your role? And whenever anyone asks me that, I just think, honestly, fuck off. You've just been taught to say that to everyone new. Like, that doesn't build trust for me at all. Like, honestly, zero trust then. You're just being polite, and that's a corporate trick. So I think you can tell from that I don't go into organizations with a high level of trust. I go into organizations with a very, very low level of trust. No, I think, honestly, my answer to that is, I think you just have to show a lot of humility, respect, listen to them. I think the most likely thing to build a true trust between two people is a connection. So try and have a good conversation, try and show humility, share any wisdom or thoughts if you have them, but don't try and be overly valuable too quickly, because that's usually like, you're not that valuable when you don't really know what's going on. But I think the way to build trust as the new person is to just listen really well, try and act with humility, and then try and like actually form a connection. Remember that person, try and remember their name. Yeah, I always find the like, and how does my role help you? It's like, yeah, sometimes that question will actually come up, but you don't need to ask like Joe in finance, like how your role helps her. It's like you're just another person that she has to pay. So I think mine would be more about like just trying to have humble, nice conversations with people. But
Being
what do you
authentic.
think?
So being authentic
Being
rather
authentic.
than being a bit
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and just like not too, if someone is too like, what are the top 3 things I could do to help you this week to settle in? I'm really like, God. And I literally, it's just too much, mate. Like, you shouldn't have that time. And if you have that time, I'm afraid that you've mentally been put into my low performer list. Like, you just so like
There is a bit of a danger though when you start a new role, right? That you've misjudged who you're aligned with.
yeah.
Like, you could accidentally, unintentionally, just find yourself with someone who is a low performer with a bad rep in the business, and like, is that okay? Or
Depends what you want them for. Like, it could be okay to be your friend. Like, obviously, they might lose their job, so you just don't know. But like, you like who you like, I think. But I think where you professionally invest your time, you have to be very careful of. Like, you have to be selective. So if let's say in your first 30 days, you might meet 40 people. It's quite a lot. 20, like, you'll see them in the odd meeting. You should know who they are, but you'll probably never have a meaningful
cursory.
interaction with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
cursory, like polite, polite to meet them, say hi. Then there's probably like, of the other 20, I would say 5 to 7 that are probably going to be critical to your success, your influence, your progress in some way, of one of which will be your line manager. And those will probably be quite obvious, I would have thought. It might be your team. And then there's those other 13. And from the 13, you've got to assess who has the most potential. And that's, to be honest, that's the part of onboarding that I like the most, where I'm like, you do your job now, but you'll be with me soon. When I find when I find the people that I'm like,
You're an absolute
yeah,
poacher. You're really good at it.
yeah, oh my God, yeah, for sure. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, you were the top performer in that area last year. Well, no, how about we go for lunch? You know?
Shameless. I love it.
Yeah, of course. I'm building my team, whether or not they know. But yeah, there's a lot of I think there are in the first 30 days, there are a lot of meet and greets where like it will be out of like politeness, but they won't be like that useful, and you just got to put up with those. But yeah, you've got to put your energy, be careful where you put your energy, I think.
Talk to me about your approach. I've forgotten how many it is now. Was it 5 to 7 people who are like the most influential? Let's say like CEO of the organization or C-suites and line management chain. What's your kind of approach
Yeah.
to those ones? Because you like there's a different conversation, right? Like those conversations aren't just like, and where do you get your coffee from? They can be, but like,
Yeah.
how are you kind of ingratiating yourself in a not disgusting way to the seniors?
I'm probably being a bit more like, how do you understand the problem the problem space we're in, how my role sits within it? It's a little bit more, for lack of a better word, it's a bit more like consultancy as as an approach. It's almost like, okay, like, I think my job is this, is that what you thought? And they'll usually say like, yeah, I think you were also doing this, and then you'll say like, okay, that's interesting. And then it's like, okay, and how does this relate to you in this way? Is that correct? And sometimes they'll say no, and then I'll probably move into like, what are the things you're most kind of worried about in terms of either this role or like this area of the business, and like, where do you, but it's like, I'll either ask worried or I'll ask excited, depending on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to like the CEO or the chief growth person, I'll be like, it'll be all very positive. And then if I'm talking to like the commercial and finance people, it will be a bit more like negative. Like, what's the worries? What are your concerns? Like, what have you seen here before that you think has been done well, and what's been done less well? Yeah, I think in terms of C-level, I actually don't believe that, maybe that's a bit of a sweeping statement, but for me, it has never been true that there have been more than 2 significantly influential C-suite people on my job. So I think you should figure out like who are the 2 that are going to make or break your success. And maybe it's only one, but I think it's probably usually more than one when you're in a senior level. And one of them will probably be your manager, but it may well be that there's another person, especially if I think you're in operational and generalist roles, right? Like you might be in the commercial team, but the COO is watching what you're doing, right? Or the other way around. So it's like figure out who those people are and maybe spend more time with them, and also find out from other people that you meet what they're like to work with. Because if you know who your 2 kind of C-suite people of influence are, you have to figure out them super fast. And an easy way to figure them out is to ask other people.
Let's move on. We're on week, I don't know, 2 or whatever, where we're sort of in the thick of our stakeholder meetings. Like, what's going on here in terms of your balance of desperate to start doing and trying to hold off? Like, what sorts of things are you up to?
Yeah, I think this is so week. I would say where I have gone wrong is in weeks 1 to 2. You probably shouldn't do much. Like you don't really know what you're doing. So it's mostly meetings, going to meetings that you'll be a part of, understanding how those meetings run. In weeks 2 to 4, I'm probably getting pretty itchy feet to run my own meetings. You know what I mean? It's like if this is my meeting, I now want that meeting, and that will be mine. But that, in all honesty, that could be a bit early. So I think in the largest organization I worked in, 2 weeks would probably have been too early to like chair a formal governance committee. I probably would have been like trying to do that with not much success. But I think in weeks 2 to 4, you should be really thinking critically about what is going on. You know, are these meetings effective? Are the outputs being done that we said we'd do last week? Who's doing their outputs? Who's not doing their outputs? Where are we blocked? Where is it easy to deliver things? Where is it less easy? And I think like you can be, in your first 2 weeks, you are literally just receiving so much information that I don't think you can think like truly that critically, because it's just like, oh, that's how that works. Oh, I need to look into that. I didn't know how a blood testing company worked. But then in weeks 2 to 4, I think you can start thinking a bit more critically about what's going on without yet being indoctrinated into your team, knowing the people. So you can be objective but critical. So that's probably what I'd be trying to do in meetings. So actually, I would say don't run them, even if you know it's going to be your meeting in future. Like, don't rush into being the chair. Enjoy the weeks where you don't have to run them yet, and try and figure out how those things are working, what you would change, why, and what you're on the lookout for in terms of how to get things running better. What do you think about that? Weeks 2 to 4, what would you be doing?
I would never be chairing a meeting in weeks 2. I mean, I think this is the fundamental difference in our experience, right? Like, I have big org experience and you have small. Yeah. And I think the expectations on those 30 days are really different. Where I'm working, like, it's probably like I'm still battling to get logged into something or get access to something. So like very different paces of work. I think in this time, you're obviously in your kind of 4 or so a day stakeholder meetings, and that's for me quite socially fatiguing. What I am trying to get a feel for at this point is just trying to get a sense of my team. I think it's, especially when you get more senior and you're starting a role and you're inheriting a team, regardless of whether you like them or you think they could be better, like you didn't choose who's in there, right? You've inherited what's there and you're going to have to make it work. So I think it's about understanding their version of what's going on. And as you get more senior, you have the complexity of like multiple management layers and getting other people's perspectives on your team's work. And you will always instinctively come to defend your team and kind of be, that's what I'm hired to do. I'm their leader. I'm looking after them. But there is an amount of listening that you need to do about what other people think about your team. And you have to start trying to triangulate the difference between how your team thinks it's doing versus how other people think that they're doing and what your manager thinks, and start kind of triangulating all of that soft data into what's actually going on, because it is too early to be able to know exactly what's going on. You might just be starting to think about what are the right questions to ask to sort of get a layer deeper of that intel. But I think it's just about trying to get a feel for things. And, some of that can be sort of like culturally, like, I don't know, someone's not turning their camera on. That's actually my bugbear. I hate it so much. But there are other organizations and places where that's perfectly normal and accepted. And, there might be a very good reason why someone doesn't do that. But for me, as a general rule, that's a sign of disengagement. And that's the kind of problem.
Yeah.
So you're getting all of these signals of data and you're just trying to soak them up and work out like what's going on, who's really into it, like who are the big hitters, who's disengaged and in the back seat, and starting to get a sense of what's going to be required to make this move better, faster, bigger, those sorts of things, without sounding like an absolute bell end. Because also if they're really tired and you're like, I want us to be better, faster and bigger, they'll be like, I'm so tired, go away. I tend to kind of lead with energy and pace, and that can be really annoying, especially if the team is really tired. So
yeah, it's such a good point. You have got to really, if you are leading a team in particular, right, you've got to understand, as you say, their perspectives in depth, what's happened to them, but also the perception of the team that you're leading and the perception of, the different people in it. Yeah, it's a great point. It actually makes me think about how much time I did, but it wasn't deliberate, but I did spend doing that when I was in a large organization. Like because I was coming in to lead a team that was fairly new, but that also people didn't understand. Like people didn't understand what product was. And so like I'd have to ask like everyone, like, what do you think product is? And then they just honestly give me like the most bizarre like range of things. And I would be like, well, it's absolutely definitely not that. But yeah, a big part of that was the perception of that team, of the team that I was running. And it probably took me 3 months to properly actually triangulate what was grounded in fact and what was just perception and opinion. So yeah, I think that's a great point. Okay, so I think last section we should just cover is like, what are your top tips, Beck, for just how to behave in the first month? Like how to be.
So well, like the obviously correct answer to this is like, be yourself. But if you're a bit of a grumpy bitch, don't be yourself. So I would say charming, disarming. I can't think of another word that rhymes with that. But I think you just want to be nice. You want to be relatable, especially if you're senior. You want to be sort of asking good questions. You want to be curious, but not in a kind of judgmental way. Not like, why do you do it like that? Or, but if you're thinking that in your head, just say it in a sassy, jokey way. You don't know enough about how and why decisions have been made previously to be able to accurately assess this early on and tell someone something's a stupid idea and know whether they were involved in the stupid idea. Yeah. So I'd say just tread very carefully, but also if there is something that's like really crackers, you can like just ask a question like, I'd be really interested to understand, like, you guys do it like this, it's a bit different when I've seen it before, like what's the rationale? And like often there's none, or like it's just we've always done it that way, or whatever.
We've always done it that way.
And then you're like, ka-ching, that's the first to go. So you can start like gathering your secret list of things you want to change. But you can also, I think it's important to come with fresh energy when you start. Have a holiday before, feel like enthusiastic, but not in an annoying way. I think my work personas, have you watched Parks and Rec?
Have I?
Just checking.
I live for Leslie. Come on.
I'd say I can, like, Leslie Knope is sort of like my spirit animal for work.
Yeah, I can totally see that with you.
And
I can totally see that.
Sometimes Leslie's a bit much. And so, I think it's, if you know that you can be a bit much, it's just about turning the volume down like 10% and being like, just don't be that extra. But be well dressed, be great.
I try and be a bit more Ron,
Yeah, I'd say you're actually a bit more Ron in general.
Yeah, I agree. I try and just be a little bit more Ron. Not in your first 30 days, though. Yeah, I definitely made some mistakes there. I think that in my current role, I remember saying to multiple people, yeah, no, I've made enough friends, and in this job I'm not here to make friends. And I don't know like where that came from, but I was really like, no, you don't get it. I'm not making friends. I've got enough friends. My friends, I love them all, but I'm full to the brim. Friends, that's not what this is about for me.
You can always
So
think that, but you should never say that, Annie.
yeah, no, so I was saying that willy-nilly at the start of this job.
It makes you sound so hardcore. That's really Ron, actually.
Yeah, no. And I think I also can be charming and disarming, but I just remember being quite sort of obstinate in this particular role that I was just like not I was like, I'm not going to like any of you. We're not going to go for drinks. I'm not going to share my thoughts or feelings. I'm not here for that. So, yeah, God knows, God knows. But as I say, you can start again in the middle of a role. Perhaps now is the time for me to do that.
Have you been invited to drinks yet?
I didn't get invited to very many drinks / don't. And the one that I turned up to, that honestly, when I got there, people just stopped talking. It was just like, why is she here? And so I'm lucky that I have actually got like a couple of, I would say, reliable work friends now that sort of every now and again kind of wheel me out like an attraction just to see if it will stop everyone talking. But yeah, I think maybe going a little bit softer than that. Keep those thoughts in your head. That would be my tips for the listeners. Keep those thoughts in your head.
I mean, I've also definitely had those thoughts before and then just still made more friends because you always make friends. You always end up making friends, whether you go in with the sort of, I don't have space for anymore and then space is just made. But I would say going to a drinks is a great way to get gossip. Just get everyone a bit sauced and we're like, so what's going on with this thing? Hey.
Gossip is, I feel like actually we have thought about this, but we should do an episode on gossip because I actually now avoid it as much as I can. I avoid it like the plague. I don't want to know. I don't want to know who's sleeping with each other. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no. I've got a really boring version of gossip, which is more just like corporate gossip.
Yeah.
I don't work in places where like people sleep with each other that I know of. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Well,
we can do an episode on gossip though, because I bloody love that.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm a bit scared of gossip now. Been burned too many times by the gossip.
You've just been gossiped about.
Yeah. No, I actually don't. I don't think so. Little angel over here, just going around telling people that she doesn't want to make friends with them.
But to your point though, it's also like different when you get more senior. It brings a different vibe to drinks. Like I do think my team should socialize without me at some points, though. Like I would get massive FOMO, but I also, will host like something for them where I am there. But they should be free to express their feelings about me without me.
I agree. That's very important.
So it's okay if you don't get invited to the drinks. It just means you're big and scary and important. Do you think you're scary in your first 30 days? You sound a bit scary.
No, I'm not. I'm not scary. I'm not scary in general. That's not actually my. I think I might be sort of a bit strange, but I'm not scary. I don't think that's my personal brand. I think people in this job have maybe found me a little intense.
Okay.
But not in a scary way, more in a like, why does she work so hard? Why is she still working? Why is she still looking so stressed? I think that's more of my personal brand. High stress, high work, but mostly I would maybe a little bit of just general concern. I would say that's probably my overall brand.
You took us into a segue about top tips, and I feel like we digressed enormously.
Yeah, we did some good ones. You gave some good ones.
Just get people drunk in vino veritas. I don't know if that's, please don't tell my employer about that. But I do think socializing is very important. What are your top tips?
Mine are just be very, very humble. That's actually how I think people come to like you. Obviously, as women, don't be apologetic. Don't be like underconfident. I think show a lot of humility. You said curiosity. I think those two things together, if we're focusing on your first 30 days, I think those two are the really critical things to kind of give off humility, curiosity, not pretending that you know why people do their jobs the way they do, what they've been through, like what's going on in the organization, because you just don't. So yeah, that would be my 2 things to focus on. And then of course, yeah, tell everyone you don't want to be their friend.
I think I completely agree with those, except for maybe the last one. I think that thought in my head. I think we haven't spent a lot of time touching on it, but there's also a kind of phase of the first 30 days where you start kind of identifying the small wins and just kind of get on with them. And then just like start identifying where those big wins are that you can bring fresh energy to. And that's in your kind of, you're definitely not in your 30 days, but that's a longer term one. And then, through all of these conversations, just start thinking about where are the uphill battles and are they going to be worth it? Because it's quite easy to just get sucked in at the start to someone else's priority that's just a total ball ache, or like you accidentally stumble upon the hornet's nest and then you're holding it and getting attacked for holding it. So, at work, I've been working on an uphill battle for about 2 years, but it's still going. The hornet's nest is still buzzing, just holding onto it, covered in bites, but it's okay. Some are worth it. It's an uphill battle that's worth it. So that's just life. That's what you get paid for.
That's what you get paid for, indeed.
Any more?
No. I'm a big note taker. I have to admit, my first 30 days, I am a big note taker. I think I also like to be on the receiving end of someone taking notes. I think clever people take notes. I think really stupid people don't take notes. So if you're ever onboarding with me, just know I expect you to take notes.
It's like not possible in your first 30 days to remember everything that happens in all of that information. Are you a note taker in a notebook or a laptop?
My preference would be a notebook, and certainly for onboarding, it's a notebook. But realistically nowadays, often it is a laptop. But there's something about pen and paper in the first week, what you're kind of jotting down. I think there's just something in what you actually write. So I'd be a strong advocate for the paper and pen for at least the first 30 days.
I agree. What's your like Achilles heel notebook? Like, what's your favorite?
I like a black leather moleskin.
I like a black leather moleskin too, but I like it was square rather than lined.
Well, that's absurd. That's absurd. I want to close this window now and never see you again. I've had enough.
There's just so much opportunity for alignment in a squared notebook.
I actually just don't even understand that. I don't know. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to that for me. Nothing. I can't get there. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't even need to convince you. It's so good. Like, I'm happy for you to just not soak up all of the demand for the square. They're actually not that easy to find.
Yeah, because no one wants them.
I do. I'll have all of them. Okay. I think that's it. Thanks for joining us today. As always, if something in today's episode has resonated with you, spread the magic. Share it with a friend, post it on your socials, in a group chat, or leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. That is how the Coven grows. Until next time, bye.
Bye.